Welcome inside another episode of Point to the Passer, Diamond Heels edition. Today we're taking a look back at the 2025 UNC baseball season, and here to help us do so is Tar Heel baseball legend Chad Flack, an essential component of the Heels' success in making it to Omaha from 2006 to 2008 as a player, including some memorable late-inning home runs that we'll get to against Alabama, and in 2009 in his role as graduate assistant with the team. Chad, thanks for joining us today to chat all things Carolina baseball.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Look forward to it.
For sure.
Yeah, Chad, thanks again for joining us. We're excited to talk with you. And uh, obviously, we wish we were talking about the Heels going to Omaha here starting Friday. But looking back on last week and really looking at what happened in terms of obviously a heartbreaking loss for Carolina. You've been through a lot of great highs and some heartbreaking losses too while you were at UNC. How do you start to process a season-ending loss like that, especially one that feels so abrupt in terms of a team that really felt like they were in a position to potentially win it all? How do you start to process that, and do you end up using that as fuel for the following season as well?
Yeah, it's difficult. If you think about the time and energy that those players and the coaches put into getting to that point, I think even after we lost the first super regional game, we were 1-1 going into the last game, and everybody said, "Hey, at the beginning of the year, if we were all to say, hey, if we were in this situation, would we be happy and would we take it?" And I think everybody would absolutely raise their hand. But unfortunately, that's baseball. I mean, baseball is just one of those sports that's what makes it so great is depending on which way the ball bounces, a little here, a little there, or good bounce, bad bounce, whatever. It can completely change around what a game turns out to be. So it's difficult for the players because of how much time and energy and the coaches and what they've put into this team. But obviously, back in my time, we had some difficult endings as well. And as time goes on, you get to be a little bit more thankful, a little bit more proud of what you did accomplish versus what you didn't accomplish. The guys in that locker room, I've gotten to know them, pretty well, at least some of them, and because I'm still very, very close with Coach Forbes and still involved with the program a little bit from the outside. And they're just, it was the type of team that you cheer for. You won't, you would go out there and take a hard ground ball to the chest for them because they're just good people. They do the right thing. Yes, sir. No, no, sir. Yes, ma'am, etc. It's a team and a group of people that I believe, and a program that I believe the Carolina fan base can be super, super proud of.
For sure. And that came through whether you're watching it on TV, whether you're there at the Bosch in person, just how these guys grinded from really the preseason before the season even starts to opening day February all the way into June. Yeah, I mean, it's a really good point just in terms of the makeup of this team and how special they were. And I think Coach Forbes spoke to this in his post-game presser where he was getting emotional because how grateful he was for the type of team, the type of people, and how they showed up. You mentioned playing for Scott Forbes as your pitching coach. I think he came in as you were there, and obviously still being connected. What do you see from him in terms of he seems like a real player's coach? Can you talk to that a little bit, just in terms of how
Hmm.
he
Uh,
interacts and really leads these guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Forbes is just, a born leader. What you see is what you get. But, sometimes in sports, between a press conference and what happens in a locker room, there can be a 180 difference on what that coach is truly like. But what you see is what you get from Coach Forbes all the time, and that's what I love and appreciate about him. Um, he is definitely there for those kids and trying to help get them to the next level. But more importantly, he wants to get them to a place where they're going to be good husbands and good dads and good people in the community. And that's been a focus of our program for a long time. I mean, I would say that we're probably a top 5 or top 3 program in the last 20 years if you were to really stack up all the success. Obviously, we're missing the one big piece that we would all want, and I think that the process that we're on, the team, the program, kind of where it sets up now, that will come, and it probably will come when we least expect it versus expecting it. But he's just a wonderful, wonderful leader, wonderful person. It's somebody that I think anybody would want their kid to be around and get and be guided by. Um, yeah, it's he's the perfect person to be leading our program now and into the future for sure.
Definitely. And thinking about the future, and I know that piece about sometimes players or even coaches, teams as a whole will talk about how they use a heartbreaking loss at the end of the season to fuel that off season and go forward. And you guys in '06 after the loss to Oregon State in the championship, you had that experience where you're back in Omaha the following year. Was that something that did you guys use that as fuel, being in that situation
Yeah.
and wanting to get back there? And what did that look like?
Yeah, I think it's fuel, but I think it's also experience. It's understanding what it took to get there. Try not to make the lows too low or the highs too high, and understand that it's a process. But there's something to say when you look to your left and the right with the teammates I had, or just this type of team that they had this year, to be able to sit there and say, "Hey, if we're down 4 or 5, so what? We're going to come back." And I think that that's the belief that a lot of great teams have is if I don't do it, somebody else will. And so yeah, it definitely fuels you, for the upcoming grind to get to that same point for the next season. But I think it's even more just learning from what worked and what didn't work, and the confidence of what it takes to get to that next level. That you can utilize. But one great thing about our program, if you were to look at it and look at what we replaced, there's not many teams that went through having to replace the people that we had to, the superstars that we had to end up right back into basically the number one ranked team at the end of the year. Well, I say end of the year, in the last few weeks before Omaha. And that's just a testament to the stability of the program. But that all starts at the top, and the top is Coach Forbes and Weirs and Coach Jackson and Coach Howell and Coach Gaines, former teammates of mine. I even I was talking to Weirs the other day, and interesting enough, I actually hosted him on his visit to Chapel Hill. I think he was already committed, but I told him I solidified that decision, and I think it worked out pretty good for him in the long run. But that was when I was coaching in 2009. They had actually, when he was looking to transfer from Walter State, they put me as a host of them. So, but anyway, yeah, I think it's a testament to the stability of the program, but what goes into it, and I would just challenge all Carolina fans that are out there. I know a lot of people with baseball and completely understand that it's difficult to follow every pitch in every single game. But it's interesting to watch new fans come into the Carolina baseball family program, the program, getting closer, getting to know the players and the coaches, and start saying, "Man, I mean, this is exactly what I was hoping, that I would achieve." But it's almost like as soon as they get that contact, we draw them in closer because of all those things, all those boxes that we're checking on a regular basis. And we need more. We need more people to join the army.
Absolutely. I mean, we're definitely on board with that too, because to your point, there's the character piece, there's also the personalities, and just these guys are doing it the right way. But then the season is such a journey too, right? You see, like you said, I don't think at the beginning of the season, if you had told the team, yeah, we're going to be in this spot in the supers, one game to go to Omaha, everyone would take it. And um, I don't know, even from like a fan perspective, if we necessarily thought like that might be the case at the beginning of the year. And so it's cool to see the journey of how these guys come together, how they develop over the course of the season. Some of the freshmen like McDuffie and Lynch, who just are
Superstars.
phenomenal. Yeah, unbelievable. So um, I think in terms of, looking back before we look ahead, are there favorite moments? And there's probably many, but a couple of your favorite moments or memories from this year, specific plays or even games that stand out to you.
Yeah, I follow it all year, so obviously I see it all the way from when they're playing with 35-degree weather or 30-degree weather on a couple of their trips up north earlier this season to where they are. But obviously, just I think watching the team gradually get better and get that confidence that we would expect for our program. And you could kind of just see it as an outsider watching that process happen and watching those freshman pitchers be thrown into, very difficult situations. And, on TV, they make it look easy, or in the stands, they make it look easy, but it's not. I mean, it's a high stress situation coming from high school, and I don't care what level of high school you played in to getting into that. But watching that happen, and then watching the evolution of how everything kind of works itself out. I would tell you two big things is part of my disappointment of the season ending the way it did. But two guys, I mean, Knapp and Hunter Stokely didn't, they were hurt last year. They didn't get to experience it, and they could have easily left and went and played pro ball or whatever else. And watching that journey back for them and the success that they specifically had was really, really cool. Even Jackson Vanderbrake, who had a down season last year, came back and and trusted the process that he had more in the tank, and became another superstar for us. So just watching the evolution of that, but following, nobody understands how hard it is to have Tommy John surgery the way that Knapp did and come back the way he did. I mean, it is. There's not many people that can do that. I know the surgery's advanced these days, and if you pitch long enough, you're going to have it. I mean, that's just the way it is. But to come back and have an undefeated season the way he did, and not only that, take games into the seventh, eighth, or complete game. I mean, that's really cool, but that's hard, man. There's a lot of talent in there, and he's a big old boy, but that's hard. And I think that's what I love about this team is you could see that. He wasn't doing it for himself. He was doing it
Mhm.
because he knows that if he takes 7, 8, 9 innings, throws an extra 20, 25 pitches, maybe he might be a little sore, but he set up his team really good for the next two games to win a series. So yeah, I think there's a bunch of moments and a bunch of stories that you could kind of pick out throughout the season. But winning the ACC championship and the ACC tournament was great, and winning the regional, the way they did, all those things are extremely important.
I'm glad you brought that up about Knapp. Really, all three of those guys, Knapp, Stokely, and Vanderbrake, and just that point about how Jake Knapp attacked his rehab and the work that goes into just all that work when no one's watching, right? And how
Yeah,
difficult it is to be that disciplined to attack the rehab the way that he did. And yeah, to your point, then he comes out and has a historic season at Carolina.
you got that right.
No other pitcher has won that many games without a loss. The fact that he's 14 and 0, and I think I want to say Adam Warren was maybe like 11 and 0 in
Hmm.
that it was either that '07 or '08 year with you
Yeah.
guys. So he sets that record and then ties the all-time wins record for that was set by Greg Norris, I think in 1978. You're talking
Wow.
about stuff that has not happened
No.
in forever or ever. So,
And to
um,
do it all after missing the entire season last year and having a
Mm.
ligament completely repaired in your arm and your
right,
moneymaker, I guess is the best way to put it. So,
Mhm.
is
uh,
unbelievable. And to your point, he could have just gone pro, right? He could have
absolutely.
decided I'm ready to move on to the next stage of my life, and it was
Yeah,
definitely a decision for him and his future, but also, like you said, this was about his teammates, and you could
100%.
see, yeah, you could see that he and Jackson really take that captain, that C on their jersey. That's there for a reason in terms of
Yeah,
their leadership and their mentality.
100%. But I also don't, if we don't have the leadership that we do, the program that we have, the environment, the people surrounding it, a lot of colleges don't have that, and you would see a Nap just walk out the door because, what is he gaining for coming back? But I think that's a testament also of the bigger picture that we're discussing here of why he wanted to come back and battle for his teammates the way he did. Yeah, really cool, and just I haven't got to know him like tremendously well, but the times that I've spoke with him or sat down with him, just an unbelievable guy that's got a very bright future in whatever direction of life that he goes.
For sure. Yeah, it probably helps that he throws 95 plus too,
That's always
but
nice. That's always nice. But unfortunately, these days it's about 75% of the pitchers that are out there are right like that these
True.
days. Pretty
it,
incredible.
it really is incredible. You mentioned Hunter Stokely too. I'd love to talk to you a little bit about him. I know y'all are related too, so there's a
Yeah,
special
we are.
connection
Yeah,
with
kind of
with
distant
him.
cousins for sure. And there's actually a couple photos of coming back from Omaha and getting off the bus, and him and his family were there, and I'm holding him in in my arms at
Oh
that
my
point.
gosh.
I feel really old. I can't hold him these days. um, but yeah, it's we are distantly related, but man, really fun to watch him hit. But go ahead and finish your question. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say that I think he even talked about coming into Carolina. One of the reasons that he came to Carolina specifically was wanting to follow in your footsteps and wanting to
Yeah,
have a similar legacy and get the team to Omaha but also just the impact that you had uh, more of a statement just that it was cool to see him realize that, right? And
100%.
to be part of the team in Omaha last year, uh, which again, it's hard to I imagine it's hard to be 100% in as a teammate when you're injured and your
Yeah,
team is out there. But he and Jake both were able to do that. And then the season that he had this season was
phenomenal.
unbelievable. Yeah. Yeah. And to see the power numbers go up too,
Yeah.
which knew that was there. Um, yeah. I mean, I guess it's hard to even put into words what he meant to the program, but there are things that like, I guess that you take away just seeing him be able to have the success that he had this year and your thoughts on him as he wrapped up his career at
Yeah,
Carolina.
100%. This year, I think he probably believed that was what he had in the tank to be able to get to. But obviously, at his time at Carolina, through injury or whatever else, we hadn't quite seen that. We always knew he was talented, but man, he worked hard. He worked extremely hard to get himself in the position that he was in, and he had an unbelievable year, and he's just a very professional hitter, and I like to say maybe a professional guy as well in regards to how he is off the field as well. But just kind of one story about him that I think leads to the bigger picture that we continue to talk about is last year we were going to Omaha, and he comes up to say hello to me, and obviously he had been hurt all year. Um, he would have been willing to give up a year of eligibility for one at bat if he felt like that was going to help his team win. Like that, he even told me, he's like, man, I told Coach Forbes I'm ready to hit if we need to. And I'm like, that'll likely blow a year of eligibility. Like, you might want to think. He's like, it's about winning. And so that translates to what you saw this past year. And man, he had a hell of a year. I mean, it was fun to watch. And as a former player, you start watching somebody like him hit, you kind of you see the professionalism, the talent that he has to make very quick adjustments in the box, and that's very difficult. Hitting is a very difficult thing, and sometimes he makes it look pretty easy.
Yeah, I would say it made it look easy a lot. I mean,
Hmm.
that's a good point too about sometimes that first pitch, first swing, maybe wasn't the best one in an at bat, but then he just locks in right away. And he's just a really tough out,
Yeah, I
and
think it was in the last 2 weeks. I can't remember exactly which at bat, but I think there was like a changeup thrown, something off speed, and I mean he was so far ahead of it, and it was one of those scenarios like he was trying to hit it into the field hockey stadium, and that pitcher came back with that same pitch, and he slaps it over to third baseman's head. That's understanding what's going on and using it to his strength, and that's a professional hitter right there.
Hmm.
yeah, you summarize that really well because that's when I think of him, that's what I think about. He's just a tough out, somebody that definitely had the power, one of the top home run hitters this year on the team. He did send one into the field hockey stadium
He
during
did.
the supers, but then to come right back and hit it the other way like that, like you're saying. Um, I guess you mentioned Jackson Vanderbrake too, and somebody that talk about just team oriented. When you mentioned Hunter in Omaha, I was thinking back to Jackson and the fact that he has the hit to get on there against Virginia that sets up Vance for the walk-off hit and win in the first game of the College World Series last year. Uh, I don't know how much have you gotten to know him and just see his approach, and I'm just curious
Yeah,
about your thoughts on Jackson as he wraps up his
yeah,
career too.
I haven't spent a lot of time personally with him, but from what I watch on the field is kind of the tenacity, the aggression, of trying to, he wants to be the best and he wants to win, and he's in every pitch. He's the one that walks off the field, and I would say him and Kepley probably try to fight on who's going to have the dirtier uniform. But with Jackson, if you watch what happened last year, a lot of people can, kind of crawl into a hole or look for a different opportunity, eh, because they did have to, they went from being a star to being replaced and sitting the bench. And, just watching him last year, even coming out of the dugout and high-fiving everybody and congratulating him and all that stuff. I mean, the C that's on his jersey was much bigger than that. And you watched at the end of the last year, when he got that opportunity, he was ready. I mean, he really, I mean, I would say we made it to Omaha and won a couple games in Omaha because of him. Because of him being inserted back into the lineup and him being ready to do that. And that just comes from, having a positive attitude that's about the team and not him. And then see him come back this year and having the year he did was like just kind of like the nap thing and the Hunter Stokely thing. It's like you can't cheer hard enough for them, because you know what they've been through, especially being a former player, and the mental aspect that can take on you, going through those certain things. It was wonderful to see.
Definitely, yeah. And transition a little bit now. So, well, I guess before we do, are there other thoughts you have on this team and the end of the season, and even looking ahead? Any other things that come up that you wanted to touch on?
I mean, I could probably talk for hours about what I see, but I think one of the things that probably wasn't mentioned very much at the end of the year that probably should have, but um, I hate to say it this way, but I think if we had Mateus the through the end of the year and had him where as good as he is, we would be in Omaha right now. I mean, there was some of those long relief, kind of halfway closed type scenarios where they were using Lynch and McDuffie that really could have gave an opportunity for, another arm to maybe come in earlier in the game instead of having to stretch the starter to a certain level. And the loss of him and the loss of Percival to be able to get to the spot that they were in and be ready to make that run, um, that's impressive. That's a sign of a good team that can take that and run with it. Because Mateus, when you take that number one person out of the bullpen, um, that's tough. That's tough to switch, the mentality on.
Absolutely. And I mean, you think about it, he was a preseason All-American. So you
Yeah.
lose somebody like that who I love the nickname the Vulture
Yeah.
because of getting all the wins last year, 12 wins last year, which is phenomenal. So great point. And then just the experience of him and Percival, guys who they've been there before, right? As
Yeah.
juniors, they've been through the supers, they've been to Omaha, all of that. Yeah, that's a really great point. And the fact that you're really relying on freshmen out
Yep.
of the bullpen, right? Those two guys and McDuffie and then Lynch obviously slotting into the starter spot and doing what he did in the last couple of starts there.
Yeah. He's got a very bright future. It's going to be fun to watch him.
Yeah,
A
no,
lot of
no
those guys,
kidding.
it's going to be fun to watch, including McDuffie and watching DeCaro continue to take steps forward. But it's going to be fun to watch that crew.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like that's one of the exciting things. Back to what you were saying about the more folks we can get focused on baseball early and at the Bosch, but also just following along throughout the course of the season, the better because they're going to have one of the best pitching cores
Yeah.
in the country, right? In terms of the guys that you just mentioned and guys who are coming back as
Mhm.
well, potentially guys they bring in. But
We just got to go
um,
find 4 or 5 more Kane Kepleys.
there you go. No
Throw in
problem.
there
That's
real
no
quick.
problem.
That's right.
I tell you what, that's another thing I want to state. I know he was only there for 1 year, and as of right now. I mean, I'm expecting him to be a high draft pick, and so it'd
Right.
be a difficult decision on coming back for his senior year. But you talk about somebody fun to watch, and I can only imagine fun to play with. Just the amount of aggression and I guess compartmentalized aggression is the best way to put it, but intensity can only wear off in a good way for the team. And having him kind of set the tone for most of the season with what he was doing was pretty impressive. And also, I mean, think about it. He was a walk on at Liberty. He came from Liberty, but he's replacing a first rounder in center
Right.
field. And if they did it completely different ways, completely different players. But that's very difficult to fill the shoes of somebody like Vance Honeycutt. And I would say he did about as good as you could possibly think, for at least for my expectations.
Yeah, I would say it too. I mean, I think the fact that he's also a two-way player, and that was the thing that's so impressive because we know what Vance does
Yeah.
on in the field, obviously in center field, but also at the plate. And for Kepley to do it, like you said, his own way, but to provide the impact at the top of the lineup and the intensity, like you mentioned, also just the overall toughness to take that many pitches, to be hit that many times. Like we would joke about it. There must be a magnet, a baseball magnet or something. This guy,
It's interesting. Like when we were playing, Reed Frank was like that,
yeah,
for us leading off. I know he sometimes wore an elbow guard, but a lot of times he didn't have anything on because he didn't want it to seem like he was, leaning into a pitch. And I mean, the amount of balls he took off, front of his arm right there, I mean, were probably double digits. But I haven't seen anybody since him do what he was doing, and Campley took it to another level for sure. But
yeah, it was
I mean, that's a trained
yeah.
scenario. I mean, because that's something you work on. That's something he worked on because, you flinch or, just do a natural human reaction. He's probably not getting hit by half of those pitches.
Right. That's a good point. That there's skill in everything that he was doing was very intentional, both at the plate and then his ability to cover ground. I was really hoping they were going to make it, obviously make it Omaha for a lot of reasons, but I was just imagining what he was going to do in the outfield, given there's so much space out there and
100%.
um, the no-fly zone that he and Carter French and Bass were going to be able to set up in the outfield out there. But well, maybe we can transition to kind of looking back a little bit and reflecting on some of your favorite moments from your career.
Gory
Um,
days,
yeah,
non HD
that's
television.
We were
Like
just
that's
talking
right.
about that, about how Jonathan watching back in the day, basically finding a bootleg stream for the regionals and super regionals. Now you get this great coverage, which obviously contributes to the growth of the game, which is fantastic for
you
everybody.
got that
But
right.
yeah, the bootleg streams that you had to find.
100%. And you see what college baseball is doing now with all the ability to be on TV and be able to stream basically every game.
Mhm.
I think every one of them was streamed to a certain level, but college baseball in the next 5 years is going to be fun to watch. I have a feel it's really catching up a lot quicker than people expected to MLB. Obviously, different parts of the country are a little bit different than that. You're not going to go to New York or Boston and convince them to watch college baseball over watching the Red Sox or Yankees or something like that. But you can see what's happening. I think ESPN just actually took a primetime MLB game, scheduled games off of there and moved in college baseball. Is that Sunday night baseball?
Yeah, I
Maybe
That
mean
I'm
makes
that's
thinking that,
sense.
but
huge.
that's
Yeah.
Yeah,
what I think for next year. Sunday night baseball is going to be more college baseball
that's
related.
awesome. Yeah, you love to see that.
Yep,
It's really
100%.
exciting because I was telling Craig I was living in Montana. I went to undergrad there, so that was 2007, 2008, and would stream the games. And then '06, the year that you guys break through and get to Omaha and start that run, we were actually my brother and a couple of friends. We were living right off campus, Mill Creek Apartments, like right on
Okay.
MLK over there. And when you hit the home run in the ninth to walk it off against Alabama in the Supers, we ran out of our apartment. I don't think we stopped running until we got to Omaha because we followed you guys out there. But um, I would guess that that's probably at the top of one of the moments at the top of your list. Do you have a favorite moment? There's so many in terms of your career and the amazing
Yeah.
things that you accomplished.
I mean, I think that that has to be number one, not just specifically for that game, but kind of what the program kind of did after and continues to do, today, and kind of seeing that as kind of the starting of that process to happen is really cool. But everybody, asks me about it all the time, and I'm just like, man, I had the approach that like if I wouldn't do it, the next guy's going to do it. We would have won that series no matter what because we had an extra game too. I don't know if everybody realizes that this was game two of the 3 game series, and so with our team, the way we had been playing with the group that we had on the field, I that's why I didn't have to put that pressure on me into the going into those 2 at bats like you would normally if you were kind of being like, hey, we shouldn't even be in this position and worrying about it. But I think the best where I'm at now in my life and what I've experienced is more it's more experience based, it's more people based, it's relationship based. Thinking about all the people that I've met, that I've spoken to, that I still have good relationships with to this day, teammates, coaching staff, people around the program, and et cetera. I mean, a lot of that, some of that could be there, but some of it might not because it's a conversation starter about what happened at Alabama or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, it's still cool, but I always ask them every year if they're going to leave it up on the video board. I mean, can they throw a little AI into it or something and enhance it? I'm like, sooner or later it's going to be black and white, and you're like, what in the world are they showing here? But yeah, I mean,
We
a lot of great moments, and really good teammates that I played with that I will absolutely cherish forever.
Yeah, the relationships, like you're saying, sounds like that's at the core of it. And I was just gonna say, we've been running the Bosch Brothers Twitter account. We do that from really the beginning of the season, try to do it all year.
Mhm.
Um, and it's hard to find. It should not be hard to find that clip, but it is. Like to your point about the Alabama game and the home runs, and yeah, it takes some doctoring sometimes to get get
It
the
does.
audio, the video together with it. When it doesn't seem like it was, it wasn't doesn't seem like it was that long ago. I know we're, we're getting older too, but
For
um,
sure. Every
all
time I
the
see it, I feel old. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, me too, because we were in college at that time, so it's like it feels like we were back in those glory days, and it's not that far away, but it's getting further every day. But anyway, so you said the relationships are the core of it. Do you guys like as alumni, do you have regular scheduled times in that you're able to get back together, whether that's at the beginning of the season, maybe first pitch dinners, things like that? I imagine it's also can be difficult with busy schedules,
Yeah,
everything like that.
100%. I mean, and all of us are scattered all over the US.
Right.
I think we try to do as much as we can to be face to face and see each other at different points, and every year is a little bit different. But I'm in contact with a lot of the guys. There's multiple text message chains group messages that I'm on right now with actually different eras of UNC baseball. One is from kind of the '06, '07, '08 time, and then another one I'm on with some guys that are probably more like 2015 and on. And there's always this back and forth. But the one really cool thing is you can go years without seeing one of these individuals or one of your teammates or whatever face to face. But when you do, it's like you never left. It's like we're still, we're walking out of a bar on Franklin Street. It's just it's almost takes us back to what we experienced in college. And I think that shows you how close we really were. I think there's probably a lot of people in their life that have those types of relationships. But certainly for me, it's almost like we never left. And the same jokes that we were telling 20 years ago, and picking on each other and stuff are still there today.
There's something special about dugout banter. It doesn't really leave over the
You got
years.
that right. 100%.
Still ripping
100%.
teammates from AAU ball back in Chapel Hill and, whatever year it was at this point, middle school and into high school. Still talk with those guys.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Well, Chad, any other things that you wanted to touch on? We really appreciate you taking the time. This was
No,
awesome to
I
hear.
I appreciate y'all putting the program in the shining light on it, because that's important for what we're trying to do. with my involvement with the program, I would just ask anybody that watches this that loves following the team, no matter if it's just at the end of the year or whatever. I just challenge them to engage further into the program and get to know the team and get to know the coaches and all that, because I think they'll be drawn in, um, and be okay watching that along with some basketball until basketball's finished in the year. But the program, the people, the coaches, the players, I mean, they're top of the line people, and that's a standard that's at Carolina Yale. Do we have a standard of winning? Yes. But really, the standard comes from the type of people we have that come through this program and what they end up being later on. And that's really cool. And obviously, this day and age, the financial aspect is becoming more relevant. The good thing with this team is that we're not. I've been involved with some conversations, but we don't buy any players. We don't, try to put out a bid on anything that's going out there. It's, ours is more about, hey, these guys are here. You got a Jake Knapp that's given everything and, to be out on the field the way he did this year post injury. And, you want those guys to be taken care of fairly. But they would be at Chapel Hill anyway. And I think that as a fan base, no matter where you are on all this NIL stuff, seeing guys like we have on the baseball team be as successful as they are, but being humble and appreciating, whatever's done for them, is another thing I think can draw people into our program that's maybe a little bit different than maybe what basketball or football, it consists of. I'm sure there's some of that. I don't want to put everybody in a bucket, but there is a lot of, hey, this person's giving me this amount of money, I got to go there, versus and not even care what the name of the university is. I think that's a little different around the baseball program, but that's because we have a standard, and Coach Forbes, I know for a fact would it's going to continue that standard to make sure that we have good people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. The good people and the process is really that's all part of that process that then leads to the results and the standard that
Yeah.
y'all have set. I imagine too that it helps that now Coach Forbes has been to 3 different super regionals in 5 years and an Omaha appearance. The success, I'm sure, also helps with recruiting and the NIL process too.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, anytime you're getting, national television and playing in these big games and I mean, that's as a recruit, that's what you want to do. That's what you want to be in. That's why you go to college, is participate in those big games. And so it's absolutely huge. But it just goes beyond baseball, I guess is the best way to put it. It goes beyond baseball. And I think everybody that gets closer to the program really sees that.
Chad, I got one kind of lighthearted before we
Yeah.
wrap up. Jonathan, if you've covered everything else.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
So I mentioned briefly I played AAU ball back in middle school, Chapel Hill High School, freshman year I played. So the one thing you and I have in common is we took a lot of swings trying to work on our swing and craft it and perfect it. The difference is yours translated and mine did not. I batted ninth, never really worked out. I was a good second baseman, I'll say that in the field, but was there an age that you realized like, hey, I've got this swing? Were you cranking home runs and T-ball? Like, what does that kind of journey leading up to being one of the better Carolina
Yeah.
baseball hitters of all time look like?
Yeah, that's interesting because, growing up, I mean, I was, I think every, college baseball player would probably say, they were probably one of the better players on the team and, had some experiences. And I hit my first home runs over the fence like when I was 9 years old in Little League,
Yeah.
playing against 12-year-olds. So there was all a little, always a little bit of that. But interesting enough, talking about AAU, we started an AAU team that was based out of just a small town group of kids. I mean, we
Mhm.
didn't go recruit from this long. I mean, we all probably lived within 15 miles of each other, and put this team called the Forest City Thunder together. And we show up, and we've done some pretty good winning. We thought we're pretty good, and we get just our ass kicked. I mean, I'm talking like, and I'm looking to left and right, and I'm, especially like around 12 years old, and these guys have full beards, and
Right.
I'm,
I remember that as
and they're
well.
watching, and I'm sitting there like, man, maybe I'm not as good as I
Yeah.
maybe thought I was. but that was a great experience, to be able to go through that. And then, kind of getting into early high school is when showcases and some of the things that kind of started popping up. And, going into them, I didn't know what to expect. Normally I was invited as a younger, so I felt like that there was something there, but then the rankings came out, on high school rankings in North Carolina, and had me at number one for a while. And Josh Horton and I actually switched back and forth on some of those things, and that's when it became a little bit more apparent that I might have a decent future at it. And yeah,
that's fun.
It's one of those things, but it is, as I always tell everybody, man, it's a freaking hard game.
Yeah.
The famous saying is, what can you fail at 7 out of 10 times, in anything in life and become a Hall of Famer? And that's certainly baseball. So yeah, it was a great career, but like I said, the relationships and the experiences that I had and continue to have today go way beyond any ball that I've hit over the fence or whatever.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
Well, again, we appreciate you being here and just your involvement in the program and really an ambassador for the program too, and Carolina, the broader community as well. But thank you again for taking the time. It's been a lot of fun, both talking about memories from your playing days, but also just all the great things that this team accomplished and the program is set up for going forward. So thanks again for being here with us.
100%. Like I said, thank y'all for shining light on the program and allowing me to share some glory days with y'all today.
For sure. Yeah, definitely get out there. There's no such thing as a bad day at the Bosch.
You got that right. Especially now that they're selling beer.
There you go. Now we're talking. That's how you get them in.
Yeah, now no excuses, right?
You got that right.
That's right. Appreciate you, Chad. Thanks so much.
Thank y'all.
You.